Hello, John. How are we this evening?
Hello. I am just wonderful. I'm sitting here with my juice and nibbles, and I'm just happy. It's all good. How are you?
I'm just wonderful. We're just getting into the sharing mode here and
Right.
see if we can share it on the page, see if it's alive yet. Yes, it is. Share.
Is it sharing?
Yeah, that's it.
I'll just refresh this and just wait for all the noise coming from my microphone then when I'm playing myself. Oh, here we go. It's muted at the moment. Well, I keep forgetting though. I don't even have to do this really because the comments actually come up on the screen here anyway, don't they?
They should in a wee minute. It's like,
It just gives me an idea of what the delay's like when I've got the Facebook Live on the other screen.
yeah, because comments aren't coming
So
up.
it looks like 5 people already, is it? Well, a few seconds.
Let's see, I'm not seeing the comments. We're just doing some tests, guys, so just be patient with us until we get.
Yeah.
Here we are. Ruth saying
Oh,
good evening. First comment. Hello, Ruth.
Ruth, hello Ruth, how are you?
And
Just a smiley face going on there.
we're always a little bit behind, so we're just letting people log on for a little bit and we're just sharing it. And we're saying to everybody, share. It's
Share.
a great subject tonight we've chose, John. I know.
Yeah. I know. I'm gonna have to try and keep things simple and shut my mouth every now and again, because I could go off on one on this.
Well, originally when we set up this chat show, and it's a spin off from some of the shows that me and you started a few years ago. And when we had the chat show at night and the late and the kind of breakfast shows, and we were going to speak about everything spiritual, alien,
Yep.
spooky, just everything. So I thought we should get back into some of that kind of thought process. And we'll ask the question, are we living in a controlling dimension?
A
And hello,
controlling
Ruth.
dimension, yes. Let's destroy New Age.
It's like, and there's a lot in the media. There's a lot going on just now, and there's a lot of people questioning things just now. And I thought that would be a good subject for us tonight because we're both. I wouldn't say we're conspiracy theories, we're truth seekers, and we do our own research, John.
Yeah, well, I think we're people who we refer to ourselves as truth seekers, but some people would probably refer to us as crazy tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists. I sometimes, when I'm doing a live with you, I keep meaning to make myself a tinfoil hat and put it on just before we go live, but then I keep forgetting again. One of these days, I'm going to do it.
That reminds me of the that used to be on at tea time, the clangers when I was a little boy watching the clangers. Remember that? It was like they had tinfoil hats.
I don't remember watching the Clangers. I don't remember that, to be honest with you.
Well, it
I
was
don't.
on. It came out the moon. I can't remember what they called the clangers or whatever.
Hmm.
It was on after Zebedee and the magic roundabout.
Oh, yeah, I remember the Magic Roundabout. Yes.
So we're going back a long time here. It's like,
Yeah, what's that? The 70s or something like that.
yeah, but there's been a lot of what is a dimension? And people ask, what do you mean by dimension? You know, and how would you describe dimensions, John?
Dimensions. Okay. Well, I mean, there's different terms and different interpretations, really, isn't there? I mean, a lot of people speak about densities as opposed to dimensions. As in, the density of the existence that we're in. The general idea being we live in the third dimension, but you could also say it's the third density, so
Yeah,
that we are living in a place where solid objects like this San Pellegrino, and I'm definitely not trying to advertise here. I just happen to like the stuff.
it's like,
Can be seen, felt, touched physically. Whereas we have this perception where dimensions, which we perceive to be higher than this one, so we speak about fourth, fifth, sixth, etc. dimensions up to about 12. And we think of that as being less and less and less and less dense, so that the physicality of those higher dimensions would be less and less and less. And so would the separation of any beings and entities that exist within them. So, for example, the higher you get, the more unified intelligence is and the more unified consciousness is. So in this dimension that we live in, the 3D world, we are completely separate from each other, and we all exist individually, and what have you. And this is why, of course, most of us have kind of lost our natural psychic senses, or don't believe that we have them, and don't work to regain them, because we live in this physical density, and a lot of people just don't believe that there is anything outside that. And so yeah.
Well, I think you did very well explaining that, and I think a lot of people get confused, John. That's why we kind of get into it. But the word controlling, and it's like learned behaviours. Where do we get our behaviours from? And we get our behaviours from our parents, from schools, from the media sometimes, from our peers, from teachers, and we get our behaviours. And sometimes it's good to be controlled in a kind of formal way and in a safe way. In a safe way. It's like if we're taking kids to the park and we control them walking through the roads and whatnot, so that they're safely. So not totally against being controlled in a safe manner. It's when we're controlled and we're dragged through it and we're told to do this and told to do that. That's what I'm kind of getting to today. And it's like, is this dimension controlling, as in, we're controlled by banks, we're controlled by finance. Who's controlling us? Do we have a free will, really?
No, that's interesting concept. The concept of free will. We think of it as being a sort of sacrosanct human right in essence. I mean, on a spiritual level, we have free will, but we don't have literal free will in the world we live in, because we are to a degree controlled by our surroundings all the time.
Yeah.
But on a spiritual level, if you look at the law of one, the concept of free will comes in very quickly. Just after the creator created the creation, because he was bored and he wanted to get to know himself.
Yeah.
So he split himself off into lots of what we now think of as perhaps the higher angels, the angelic realm, the archangels, what have you, the first grouping of souls. And but all these archangels were talking to each other, but they always knew what the other was going to say. There was no secrets between them. They were all completely linked consciously. And the creator was still bored. He wasn't learning anything new. So this separation kind of happened so that he could genuinely know himself, which is why we have forgetfulness. But the other thing about it is that we also have this kind of controlled environment where we have the principle of free will according to the universal law, but how we exercise it is subject to the free will of everybody else around us, and that's the thing. So we have this spiritual level of free will, which we have naturally because this creation, the free will concept came in immediately after the next level of souls, if you like, when God created, or when a creator split off into our level of souls, the next layer down after the angels. And so we started incarnating into physical bodies. Now, according to the law of one, this is where free will comes in, is at this soul level. And the general idea is that we had to have free will, and we had to have forgetfulness, and we have to have ignorance and start from scratch. Otherwise, Otherwise, the creator is not going to learn anything about himself. He's not going to get to know himself.
And this is all just theories, and a lot of people believe that or don't believe that, and there's different ways of putting it over from the law of one, and you can look at that, and you just have to type in internet and you get different versions of that. Just want to say hello to some more people. Lynn is on there, Auntie Lynn, Jackie Jean, and Angela's popped in. She's next door. Heather Lane. Now, Ruth has come up here. Being told to be someone you're not. Is that controlling? I think it's people's opinion and perceptions. And it's like, I was told that I should get a normal job, right? Told that I should, right? Because I don't recognise some of the stuff that I do as being normal, and that used to get to me. Now I'm saying, well, that's their belief, it's not mine. And that's what I mean by free will. We have free will to choose how we react. That's their stuff. You know what I mean? And if somebody's, I don't dislove them. I don't get upset by it. I used to, John. I used to, when I was younger, get very upset about what people would say to me and whatnot. And now I don't. I just say, well, that's their opinion, and I value their opinion. But I've also got to value mine and respect that.
Yeah, well, you have the freedom to say no. You don't have to allow yourself to be controlled by others. I mean, unfortunately, there is such a thing as a narcissist in the world, and there are controlling people who will try to control you. So it's kind of important to kind of identify these kind of things early on, and refrain from allowing others from being too much of a controlling influence in your life. Being told to be someone you're not. I think there's a difference between telling someone to do something, or suggesting or advising someone to do something because you genuinely believe that it's the best for them, and actually trying to control them in a sort of narcissistic way. So I think there's a little bit of a difference there, and we just have to kind of bear that in mind as well. But if someone, very often people who love you just want to give you advice, but if you're, an adult human, then you're fully entitled to say no when it suits you, and you should. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and we're all entitled to. I'm just putting up. Feel free, guys, to put your views and opinions and questions up there. It's an open debate, and we're just sort of saying to people, and there's a lot of around the world, people have different views and different belief systems, and even some of the religions are now kind of saying, are we being too controlling? And they're looking at what we call each other in the gender debate, John, that's on the
Yeah, I
table.
know, yeah.
And it's like,
I think it's important for me to mention on that subject as well. When I mention something, on air, and I'm talking on a live, and I mention something, whether it's something about New Age, whether it's something about the Law of One, whether it's something about anthroposophy, right? And I'll mention a source of something. I'll say this comes from here. I'm not necessarily subscribing to it, and I'm not necessarily suggesting that anyone believe that. I strongly urge that you guys always go and find information out for yourself and make up your own mind what feels right to you and what feels right to your heart.
I think it's everyone's got a fear now of having an opinion, and I think what I'm trying to get back to is it's okay to debate and have that, because I come from, as you know, a trade union background, having that debate, having that discussions, and this is what's going on just now is the trade unions are having debates with our members, are having debates with our governments, and they're not conforming as far as the government's concerned, as far as we are. They're having their opinions put out there, and they want to be listened to. And I think where we've got to in this time is people want to feel listened to and feel as if they're valued. And I very often feel that we're not getting valued and listened to by the so-called powers to be.
Well, that's a given.
Yeah.
That's a given. I mean, if nothing else, some of the stuff that's happened over the last few years should tell all of us that the powers that be, I mean, I don't know, the way that I felt about it, quite genuinely, and this isn't just an opinion coming from me, and everybody has their own, but the way I felt about it genuinely is that it seems as if over the last few years, people of influence and power, be it politicians, mainly politicians at the moment, I'm thinking about in terms of this example, will say pretty much anything they think will work to get them into power or to keep them in power. And once they're there, or if they're there, they will carry on doing whatever they plan to do anyway, which has nothing to do with what they said they would do when they were convincing you to vote for them. So there doesn't seem to be any real democracy left in the country, given what's happened over the last few years. Given that almost nothing that has happened over the last few years there was actually a mandate for.
Yeah.
But that's just me. That's just the way I feel.
I think you're correct, because everybody's, I think, even my most timid of friends, my most unpolitical, or they're all asking questions now, and I think that's what's happening around the UK. And I think the fact that we're doing this subject is reflecting that feelings. And I see Lynn saying, "Oh yes, we are, Derek," and I think what people are saying is there's Ruth saying rather being ignored or undervalued, and I feel that it is respect and being valued, and valuing yourself is very important as well, and not conform. So yeah, I have spent time in education here because I applied, and I was a little bit upset about this. I applied for a job with the NHS, and it was um, holistic mental health practitioner. And you know, I've been in this field for nearly 20 years, John, and studied, learn, and yes, it's holistic. It's the CBTs, it's the life coaching, it's the counselling, and real experience. And I didn't even get an interview. And that really upset me. And I said to myself, well, why am I getting upset? It's only the NHS, stay independent of it, because then I'll be controlled by their rules.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
I kind of backed off, and I gave myself permission to relax a little bit. And actually, well, it's maybe rejection is God's protection, as I say to my clients, John. And I thought, but I just thought it was a good move by the NHS to kind of open up holistically and get some Reiki healers in, people for holistic view. And I thought, this is proactive. And
Well,
even
yeah. I'm really careful about the kind of definitions and narratives behind anything that any
yes, and it's like
government body does, though, so they will still have been looking for people with specific college degrees, counselling.
Yes, and I think this is where there's the shortage is being valued, and I think there's a lot of people who maybe don't have the university degrees, but they've got real life experience and been in other forms of education, who should be valued as well, and along with, and yes, there should be rules to follow, and that's in like your data should be protected. You shouldn't harm anyone. And we should have disclosure. I'm all for that. But to say to someone and not even give them a chance to even get in front and say, well, my question is, well, what do I need to do to get into that position? Where do I need to learn? And I asked for feedback. I never got any. It's like, so I went, you know what, I'll just carry on doing what I'm doing. But it made me think, how many other people, and I've seen people holistically, and some have been ex-nurses and come into this field who won't get back in. If we all have to learn to work together, and I think that's what we are trying to say to people is we're here and we want to work with these organisations, not against them, because there's a lot of good people within these organisations, John. Even in some of the banks and some of the other officials organisations, the BBC that we're always criticising, there's some good people within these organisations that do what's good. Yeah, but this is people at the grassroots level and people at management level. A lot of them have spoken to me behind the scenes, and they do want change, and they need to be listened to, and I think that's what Lynn's kind of appreciating there, and a lot of other people were saying there. But listen, guys, what are you thinking? We're kind of talking and debating amongst ourselves. Let's get some of your viewpoints and stuff on this, because this is your chance to have a little bit of a debate, guys. And
yeah, absolutely, rant away,
rant all the way if you want. And you've got the time to type away there. I can feel them typing. It's like, but on other things, John, we've got what's coming up. I've got a show in Bucky. We had a show in Inverness there last Friday, and that was really well attended. We raised some good money for the Highland Hospice, and I'm doing it's like a friends group that meet and for sort of disabled and people who are, I wouldn't say struggling, people are lonely as well. And in Bucky, and we're raising some funds for them so they can carry on. And I'm looking forward to doing that one, because I went to one of their meetings. And see, when you go to someone and you really get attached to it and you want to help, there's nothing more empowering than actually helping them. And I think that's what we need to all remember, that there's a lot of people who can't help themselves and they need that a little bit of support. And we shouldn't stop that. And all these cutbacks and that really do make me angry when we're cutting back on those who can't help themselves. But we help themselves the best way we can by giving them the tools to be able to help themselves. And that's what a lot of these groups do.
It's a good idea to keep going in that way under difficult circumstances and just don't give up. There's a difference between people who can help themselves and people who won't help themselves, and I think sometimes people a lot of the time, especially people who are in a lot of difficulty, and I felt like this before as well. You have to actually want to make your life better in order to make it happen. I mean, any life coach will say that there's no point taking on a client who doesn't want to help themselves to progress. They may say they do, they may think they do, but if they don't really feel it in their heart, then they're not going to ultimately do it. So life coaches end up picking their clients very carefully, because otherwise they could spend a lot of time helping someone, but that person isn't helping themselves. So the first stage, if you want to make yourself better off than you are now, it doesn't matter what the situation is, you want to make yourself better off than you are now, the first thing you have to do is decide that you really want it in the heart, and you really want to develop that passion. Because if you don't have that, no matter how hard you think you're trying, you could be working yourself to the bone and nothing happens. You have to want it.
Yeah, and I feel that there's Ruth saying, due to disability, I'm struggling to find work and no feedback ever. And I was watching, it was Undercover Boss. It was actually last night. Angela was watching, she loves this Undercover Boss program. And they were in a wedding kind of company, and the guy was undercover. And there was somebody who was actually deaf and working. And I thought, she was amazing. She was great with the clients. She was fantastic. And he was blown away, and he didn't even know that, he didn't think it, because he couldn't listen and all that. But they had lots of help, and she was fantastic. She had great ideas, and she brought something different to the organisation. And she was a better listener and gave the customers more, and looked after them more than you could say a normal person, because she was really focused on making sure they got what they wanted. And I was blown away by that, and I thought, what a wonderful person. And he didn't even realise that she was deaf or had hearing implants and stuff. I thought that was amazing that she's overcome that difficulty in that type of job. And that inspired me, actually. It really did inspire me. And I think there's a lot of people who have got physical ailments and that inspire others. And they're more motivated than some people who've got no health conditions and no reason to be sitting back and doing nothing, It just makes you wonder sometimes that people don't give gratitude to what they've got sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, taking yourself and your life for granted is a bit of a problem, isn't it? I think we need to remember gratitude. You're totally right about people with disabilities being undervalued. I think employers could do well to really rethink that, and really go out there and give people a chance. When I've worked with people with disabilities before who have been absolutely amazing and worked like Trojans and have been, worked harder. I had one kitchen I worked in a few years ago, and there was a guy there who had learning difficulties, and he was the hardest worker there. And so it's just it's unfair not to give people a chance because they've got some difficulty or other. You can find ways around it, and you'll find you get as much or better effort from them than you do from most of the other people.
Yeah, you do, because they're really passionate, because they want to be there. They don't want to be relying on state support. A lot of people, but they do need that support. And I think I don't grudge them that support. I think everybody should have an equal playing field. And it's the same. It shouldn't matter where your family came from, your parents come from. You should have the same opportunities in education, for example. But we all know that doesn't happen, And there is a postcode lottery, and there is a lottery in education, And you think about all the things around the world that's going on, and you think about the people who have got the money, and it's like, and what just now we're all in at the fuel crisis, and we're getting brainwashed into saying it's a mega crisis, and it is a crisis. Don't get me wrong, our fuel bills have went up, and it's one of the reasons that I'm moving office and cutting back on my kind of spending on my office stuff, for example, and sharing it with working from home. It is tough and it is hard. One, we've got to accept it. Is it right? No. It's like, and you see the profits of these people, but how can we change it? And this is what we've got to have this debate is, do we take state control of it? Do we tax them at the hilt that they don't produce or reinvest in energy or whatever? There should be a whole re-evaluation. This is what we're talking about, dimensions, John. And a lot of people saying we're going to the fourth and fifth dimension. And there's a different type of debate on that, and a more spiritual debate. And that
Yeah,
opens up
that's
another.
getting into the new age stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it's not always new age. It's something that's been around and spoke about, and it's come up in my past lives as well, regression. And I think it's the consciousness that we're kind of talking, and rising above yourself and really seeing what's going on, not from a 3D point of view, from a spiritual point of view and a soul point of view as well. And sometimes we see bad, which is not really bad, it's actually good. And sometimes we see good, which is actually bad. When you're in that relaxed state.
Right now, that's one of the biggest problems in the world, is that there are a lot of things happening that are being called good, and there's a lot of bad things happening that are being called good, and a lot of good things happening that are being called bad.
Yeah.
This is just a topsy-turvy weird world.
I think that's what we're kind of all trying to, by choosing this subject, is, we are being controlled, because there's no kind of, it's like, is it bad to be taxing these people and whatnot? No, because who owns what? Who owns their own soil? Nobody really owns that. So why do they have to take ownership and put it all back to the greedy shareholders or whatever, and not get a balance right? I think everybody's readdressing this balance, and there's all talks about, and you got all these kind of, I wouldn't say conspiracy stuff, but people are checking about new money coming, digital money. What is money really? It's like, it's just a bit of paper. And people questioning all this sort of stuff, isn't there? There is an awakening, John, and we can't deny that, because we got clients coming in who are asking these sort of questions.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to currency, I think the fiat currency they talk about is the cash money, and what you have in your bank account. I mean, essentially, the money that you have now is everybody being paid digitally through the bank. Very little actual real cash money changing hands these days. Basically, the money you've got is nothing but numbers in a computer. It's worthless. You don't have anything, and it could all be taken away from you in an instant. My advice to anyone would be to filter out as much cash every month out of your pay you can, and stick it away in a piggy bank somewhere, and just keep it for a rainy day, because you never know what's going to happen.
Well, I see me dig into my pound coin jar, all my leftover change goes in that.
Yeah.
And the amount of times that saved me, I tell you, the amount of times that I've done that.
As for spiritual awakenings, I think there's a lot of that been happening over the last few years because of what's been happening over the last few years. And so more and more people have been awakening to a lot of the kind of corruption that's been going on around the world. For example, when I was younger, when we were younger, Derek, I had a lot of faith in what's called the establishment. If you like, whether it's a political and media establishment. When I was a kid, I was told, I remember being told, don't believe everything you read in the papers and things like that. But it didn't mean that everything was a lie. It just meant, be careful of how you interpret the context of what's being told you. But most of what you read in the paper, you should have been able to believe in essence. So I had a lot of faith in the establishment, in essence, and I had a lot of faith in the law. I had a lot of faith in I was brought up to trust the police, for example. Always believe the police. Always tell the police the truth. Things like that. I was brought up essentially trusting the political system that we live in and operate in. And I had no reason to believe otherwise for a fair chunk of my life. But over the last few years, I think over the last 10, 15 years, slowly but surely, but over the last 3 years especially, I've gone through something of a personal awakening, where I've realized, unfortunately, in a way that's kind of hurt me to the core, that all these systems that I've trusted most of my life, were lying to me all that time. And I wasn't able to trust them, and it's a hard thing to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow. And there's more and more of that happening over the last few years because of all the shenanigans that's happened over the last few years. So, and there's just more of that coming. So a lot of people interpret that as being a spiritual awakening moment for them, as opposed to thinking of it as, I think I'm going to ascend to a higher dimension or something like that, which is a bit more new agey. But I think the awakening that most people have been experiencing in the last few years has literally been an awakening to the world we live in, the kind of world we live in, and just how little we can really trust those who've got the most power.
Yeah, and it's us that puts them in power, and they should be there to serve the people. And there's Gwen. Gwen McPhee, and she's saying, "We have all been controlled for years, and now social media's everyone in two parts. What's real and what is perceived to be real. Feel like I don't know what to believe anymore." And I think that is Gwen.
Yeah,
That's what we're saying. People are asking
yeah.
the question, and that is you waking up and saying, "Wait a minute." It's like, this is not real. This is not, and we're coming back and we're asking the right questions and saying, why should we be suffering? There is enough wealth and there is enough food. There is enough everything to go around, you know. And this, then you've got the people saying, oh, there's too many people. And some studies have been done. Some countries have actually depopulated and need more people to come into them. And yes, there may be overcrowding in certain ones, but some companies, it's like the north of Scotland, there's not enough people, and that's where we relied on. You could say people coming in from Europe, and now that's no longer there. And there's loads of job vacancies there, and people, they can't do it. And it's like, and we hear all this, oh, there's too much people coming in and whatnot. And it's like, wait a minute. It's like, if there's quality people coming in, we're giving something back to society. We're all human. It's like, who really owns the planet? It's like people are asking these questions, and we've been asking these questions for years, John. And there's Ruth said, I think it's always good to step back and carefully choose what you believe or not. And I think that's true. I think that we've learned is we've both personally went down some paths and we found this is not right, or we've been told something and we go and research it and we find it's a bit new agey, it's a bit CIA-ish, and we've had this conversation a few times, John. And then we realise that it's the negative side that's creating this sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of red flags that's been really obvious in your face over the last few years. One obvious one is when you get told by people in power, don't do research, don't make up your own mind, only listen to us. We are the sole arbiter of truth. Right? That's one thing that's a red flag. Another one actually is when all the opposing political parties agree with each other on anything. As soon as the Tories and the Labour Party agree on something, then start worrying. So just think about the things that they've agreed on over the last few years, and and realize that these are some of the things you concern yourself with, and try and find out the truth for yourself.
But wouldn't it be great, right? If we're in a debate in politics, whether it's a trade union, whether it's councils or whatever, that we can agree on some things. Let's learn to agree more often. Let's have a proper debate. Because some of the opposition that I would say is opposition to me, I've had good ideas. And I said, I agree with that idea, and they give good arguments, good debates behind that. We don't have to oppose them because they're a different party or a different religion or a different. We don't have to oppose that views. If they're good and we believe in that viewpoint or idea, it shouldn't be our party's line. I think it should be individual, and it should be that if you're representing a group of people and you get feedback from them, and because certain things will apply, say in Scotland, for example, that won't necessarily be agreed upon in England, or somewhere in Dundee wouldn't apply so much to somewhere in Buckie because it's a sea or a city or a wee town. We all have different viewpoints in the areas we are. And I think that's put the control back to the local areas and the people and having that debate. And I think that's what people are wanting now.
I mean, it would be nice if politicians on opposing sides would agree with each other on things that are useful. But normally, when they agree with each other, it's when Parliament as a whole is usurping power somehow. It's usually something nefarious when they're in agreement. When it's something good, they're just battling each other. It's like it becomes a political hot potato. Like the NHS has been a political hot potato for decades, almost since its inception. And so they'll keep disagreeing with each other over it and wanting to both saying that they can make it better, but neither of them ever do. So it's just an eternal losing battle. So it's the unfortunate thing that we would like them to see, people agree more and work together more. But in practice, the only time they actually do agree more is when it's something we should worry about. Like what they agreed to lock us down for 2 years, they agreed to go to war, they agreed to do things like that with each, and we have to worry, we have to suffer.
What annoys me just now about all this Ukraine stuff and all that. And I'm not going to get a debate what's right and wrong or Putin or whatever. Is no one's talking about solutions and peace.
No, yeah.
Ironically, that
China
upsets me.
China's
It's like,
a ceasefire.
hi, nobody's talking about.
Yeah.
Why are we all talking about giving weapons when we should be? How can we solve this?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
And it's
the
like,
only countries so far are the people who we're supposed to think are enemies. The China's talking about a ceasefire.
yeah.
But you know,
And it's like, we lost the plot, and it's like we're getting people who are begging for weapons rather than food. And I think, well, where have we come? And I'm not saying it's not bad, because I think any situation like this is bad, in any sort of fighting and people suffering. But I also know there was suffering before the war in Ukraine. And if you look at the facts and figures and whatnot, and there was suffering in other countries as well that are poor. But Ukraine's not a poor country, or wasn't. Neither was Yugoslavia when they had the war, and when we were growing up. And then we had the Falklands and all that stuff as well. Different situation. And it was wrong that Argentina went to an island. And basically, we all know that's probably related to oil and stuff like that and other things rather than the island. But, it's never right to go and invade somewhere. And we should accept our neighbours, and we should accept that we go on one. We accept that we're all different as well. And I think that's what's missing. Because I really do feel that. And I think on a spiritual level that we all have to kind of wake up and accept our differences. And that's just the debate just now, and the gender debate, which I think is going a bit too far now. And people are asking, well, you're frightened to say something, John.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is due to a result of what's happened with woke ideology. I mean, it's something important to understand that there's different opinions, and there's lots of different people on different political spectrums. There are people who are sort of centrist, some right of centre, some left of centre, and obviously there are some people who are a bit more extreme in either direction. When it comes to the woke ideologies, if I take CRT as an example, critical race theory, I got the books to find out, so it's not like but it's essentially rooted in Marxism. So it was the original publications in the US when it was came about as a result of legal academics who were on the left of the political spectrum, on the far left of the political spectrum, leftists, Marxists, these kind of people. After the sort of Martin Luther King era, when it started becoming illegal in the US for people to, refuse to serve someone because they're black, have a sign in the window saying no blacks allowed, things like that, or whites only, or whatever. So America brought out all the laws to create a level playing field, but unfortunately, what they didn't do was anything to kind of adjust the culture. So people who were more on the right of the political spectrum believed that culture would evolve naturally. People on the left of the political spectrum didn't believe that it would evolve naturally without any extra help. But so with this disagreement happening, the only people who were actually trying to do something about it were people on the political left. And so that's why all the information and all the literature relating to critical race theory is all left-wing material. So when people accuse, wokeism of essentially being far left Marxism, it might be a slightly extreme perspective, but it depends on, how far a particular theory has gone. But it is true that all these theories are rooted in left-wing politics. And that's
Really?
after the Martin Luther King era. Now, it's the same with gender theory, essentially, as well, just because of the way that it's managed. And it's managed a very authoritarian way, so that if you say something that's even slightly in disagreement with the particular woke narrative, then you're automatically attacked and called a name, a bad word, and it'll be some kind of ism or phobia that you'll be guilty of. Because of the perspective that you have that isn't, and you only have to be slightly different, slightly varied from what they say, and suddenly
you're demonized.
You're dehumanized almost. And so on the back of that, an awful lot of extreme views have manifested, and this is how the left won the culture war, essentially. And I'm a kind of little bit left of centre myself in terms of my own politics. So I'm not actually in disagreement in principle with a lot of what people who believe in woke theories
Yeah,
say.
but
It's just that I don't like the way that it's extreme and become extreme, and I don't like the way that it's authoritarian, and I don't like the way that it doesn't engage and doesn't debate and doesn't allow for exchanges of dialogue without name calling.
I'm just sort of going over the comments a little bit to involve our audience. And audience,
Yeah,
please
sure.
get involved. And Ruth saying it's all about having power. Sally Price, I don't watch the news or read papers, stuff on the social media. Most of it is scaremongering, and we probably agree with that. And yes, creating fear is dangerous. And Georgina is saying, hello, everyone. Hope everyone's well. Hope you're well too, Georgina. And it's getting back to really, to be honest, right? And growing up in the catering trade, which we've got a lot of very diverse, you could say, race, sexual people. The catering trade is full of fantastic people, you know. And to me, it doesn't really matter what they are or who they prefer to be. They're all good, and really, I never ever had an issue of who I work with as long as they could do the job the same as me, and they were kind and compassionate. And you know, we had a bit of crack. You know, it's like, and you're frightened to have that with them, and it's like banter and it's jest and it's like, and now you're frightened to say that, and we've lost that banter and that crack because you're frightened to say the wrong thing. And it's not meant in any bad way. It's like, and I think that's wrong in some sense because, you know, the catering trade is notorious for having fun and it's hard working well. And we've both been involved in that trade. You're still involved in that trade. And, you know, and a lot of it's very low paid, and a lot of the kind of these kind of people working in low paid jobs because they can't get jobs anywhere else because of their gender, or they've got different hairstyle or anything. You know, it doesn't matter. But when they come in, it doesn't matter to me because it's the soul, it's the person they are, the soul that matters to me. And I think that's the awakening that's going on around the world. People aren't really interested, John, and they're getting turned off by it all now.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I think one of the biggest problems with it is when you take something to the kind of extreme that woke ideologues have taken, you know, a lot of these theories, is that it actually creates a problem they say they're trying to solve, because it's drawing so much attention to it and it's calling everything. So almost, you know, if you disagree with them, you're automatically a racist, even if what you say has nothing to do with race. You know, and it gets to the point where the meaning of these terms is completely diluted. So that now, when someone is genuinely a racist and someone calls them that, the meaning is so diluted that you don't know whether they actually are that or not. If that makes sense, it's the same with the term transphobe. You know, it's like automatically called that. You know, even if you say anything which even slightly disagrees with the narrative. So if I say that I don't like the idea of, you know, ladyboys dancing with toddlers, then, you know, because I think that's wrong, then I might be called a transphobe by some of the more extremists, whereas most reasonable people would probably agree with me that's not a good thing. But it's something that's literally happening in this country right now, and anyone who disagrees with it is automatically called bad words because they disagree with that. You know, and because of that, we're literally living in a world where, you know, some pretty, you know, below the belt things are going on that would have never been allowed a few years ago, and you know, nothing's happening about it. It's quite scary. We're living in scary times.
I think what a lot of people, what we're trying to do tonight, and just we're talking amongst ourselves, is raising awareness to the issues that are going on now, and accepting that, you know, that people are waking up and people are asking questions, and no, we're not demonizing anything. We're not criticizing anyone at all, and I want to make that clear out on here. And because a lot of people come on and expect, there's Derek and John, can you pull some cards for us? And really, the whole idea of these chat shows is to generate a bit of debate and to talk about real issues. And we can maybe pull a wee card on that and our thoughts on that, because we're both very spiritual people. And we've awoke to that and we've found ourselves and found our voice. And I think what we're trying to say to people, you too can find your voice. in your path as well. I get so many people come into me just now saying, I'm at a crossroads, don't know where I'm going. Can you ask the cards? I went, no, I'll do that later on. We'll have a bit of fun with that. But ask yourself, ask your heart center, you know? And I think that's what people are. We've got a long text coming on. You'll read it out in a wee minute. But and I think that's what a lot of people are saying is, we are waking up, and they're looking for direction as well. When really the direction comes from within, and that's what we are, as spiritual kind of beings, are saying. We found it ourselves, John. We've gone on 2 different journeys. We didn't even know each other had a spiritual side, and we've been friends for Christ nearly 40 years now. It's like, and we've both on different paths, but we've both come to a spiritual path in the end. And there's no accident about that either. We have got the same soul number, by the way, as well. So that maybe gets something to do with it too,
I'm liking this comment, by the way. I think you should read out.
Well, we do a lot of reading today. So I joined. Now, I promised I would mention this. I joined the Elgin Speakers Club. Now, if you've got a fear of public speaking, or you want to learn to speak better, and with fun and humour and a laugh at the same time, come and join a speakers club. They're amazing. I tell you, I learned so much, and I'm supposed to be like a professional speaker, you could say, but I've learned so much and had so much fun doing it. And there's nobody really judging you, but giving you advice and help. And we have a meeting every fortnight up till April. So if anyone in my area wants to come to the Elgin Speakers Club, please get in touch, because they're so much fun and it really builds your confidence. These speakers clubs. And I say to people, because you know what's really good about it, John, is we talk to one another. We speak. That's why it's called Elgin Speakers Club. Let's read this. Right. It's Georgina. Hang on. I can't get it any bigger. I'll maybe do it on the phone, see if I can read it out. It might be better.
You want me to do it?
Right. Georgina, for me, I don't care who you are or what your gender is, how your identity, your religious learning sector. If you treat me with respect and have compassion and treat others in decent manner, I have no issue with you. That's simple, and that's what we've been saying, Georgina. Yeah. Those who go out their way to deliberately undermine or belittle another for any reason is a horrible person. At the end of the day, I have an opinion, but remember, excuse the swearing, she's saying, opinions are like arseholes and everybody has one, and it doesn't mean we should go around showing it off. And that is so relevant to the discussion that we're having, Georgina. Thanks for that. And shame too far away. Yeah, but there is speakers clubs all over the UK, and it's worth going along to them. They're so much fun, and you can choose your own subject to speak about, so it's quite good. And there's different levels, and you learn. And I think, what's missing is the fact that our tea parties winning awards and stuff, John, is we get people to talk. It's not about the tea leaf reading. It's everybody talks about things like we are tonight. Oh, by the way, speaking about that, it's like there's a tea party this weekend, and we've got one on Saturday. But because of the tea party, me and Angela got our story about us. People want to know about me and Angela. And we ended up in the Daily Mirror on New Year's Day. And now we've just finished an interview last night with an Australian magazine called Take 5. So we're getting featured, myself and Angela, about our past life connection and how we got together and stuff like that, our spiritual journey. And anyone who's watching this in Australia, end of the month, buy the Take 5 magazine and you'll see us in it. So that's my plug. But it's a love story, and we should share love stories more often. Plus the fact you're my best man, John.
Yeah, very true. Here you go. Derek, Georgina wants to come to one of your tea viewing parties.
Yeah, and now that I'm not limited to the office, we are traveling a bit more. So Georgina, if you can get some people together in your area, we'll easily come down. My way down to Greenlaw, and I think it's 24th Bowling Club, and doing a wee show there and readings afterwards. So I'm traveling again, and I feel like I want to get out and about and do more, because I feel probably because of the COVID situation, I was getting cocooned in my office. And I'm glad to be giving it up a little bit and just sharing an office where I need it, because I am giving up my office. And it was a lovely office. I loved it to bits. But I'm a person who likes to get out and about, as you know. And I think I need to get back to doing that and communicating with people instead of hiding away in my office. The community feeling is missing in general. I think that's true. But COVID brought some of that community feeling back, John.
To some degree, I think, yes. Other than, I mean, I think in the long run, it's likely to do more of that. I think obviously during the period of lockdown and things like that, literally kept everybody apart until they separated everyone, you know. But I think, I mean, the more, as we were saying earlier, you know, more and more people are kind of awakening to the corruption in the world and things like that. And that is actually creating a lot of community between people who, you know, live at opposite ends of the world sometimes. But I think, I mean, in terms of community, I think we need to have more of a community spirit with people around us. You know, people who are close by, your neighbours, your people who live in the same area as you. You know, find your way to the nearest community centre and get to know people there, get to know your neighbours. You know that these are the people who you know you can help and be helped from, perhaps if the worst comes to the worst and anything more serious goes on. So get to know people around you and re-engage in that community spirit. I think it's important.
I think that's what is starting to happen in a small way, and people volunteering at food banks, people volunteering at charities and stuff like that because they're struggling. And Ruth's saying that we can't come down to Southwest London. We'll go anywhere if there's numbers, because as long as we can cover our costs, Ruth, whether that's come down doing a show and doing readings or doing parties when we're there, we'll travel. And I'm not frightened to travel like it now. We were because of health and stuff like that. Me and Angela were a bit slowing down a little bit, but now I'm not. I'm getting back on the road and going out there, and I've actually joined an international agency, John. And I'm getting inquiries from all over the world. So you just never know. Is this Georgina with another long text, or is this somebody else?
Two, actually, yeah.
Georgina, here we go. Yeah. I'll do Georgina's. COVID was the worst thing to happen. I have worked so hard to get over my acrophobia and leave my home without taking a panic attack. When COVID hit, I feel right back towards those past mental barriers, and it was awful. I didn't want to go back to that point. Thankfully, I'm moving forward again. Yes, and I think a lot of people with mental health issues really struggled, and they kind of went back the way a little bit, and I totally agree with that. Some of my clients did. Elaine Rollo, hello, Elaine. Hi, Derek and John. My opinion is that social media means that more people can share their opinion in theory instantly with strangers, whereas in the past these were shared with only our family and friends. I believe the issue is we haven't learned that others will have different opinions from us and are allowed to declare it's also without any backlash. We have to learn to accept others will be different and have different opinions, and it doesn't mean we have to kick off with them, learn to love and accept. And I think it's true, because some opinions that I've had have been wrong, and I put my hands up to it. And I've really kind of listened to the other person's point of view because they've won the argument. And I've listened. I think in an argument, we're so good at getting our own point across, John.
Yeah.
We forget to listen to the other side. Because we're trained to our view is the right view because the ones above us have told us that view.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of polarity in the world right now, which is a shame. You know, and unfortunately, a lot of the stuff we've been talking about during this show so far has kind of contributed to it. You know, this kind of advent of more and more extreme views is kind of pushing people in opposite directions, opposing each other. So now any view that's even a little bit different from yours seems extreme compared with yours, if that makes any sense. And it seems to have gone kind of a weird way. I mean, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there kind of suggesting that elites are doing it deliberately, keeping everybody fighting with each other as a distraction so that they can go on with doing all their bad stuff, you know. I'll maybe next show I'll remember and put on a tinfoil hat for this bit. Whether or not, you know, whether that's true or whether or not, you know, you believe that's true doesn't really matter. What matters is that you don't have to succumb to it. You don't have to let it control you. You don't have to automatically dislike, someone who has a different opinion. I choose not to dislike people who I disagree with. I choose to try to my best to engage with them. Sometimes that engagement is, more positive than others. It has to be said, but I do my best. But what I don't do is I don't have a
Oh, John, we've lost your sound.
Can you hear me?
I can now. Your sound disappeared there a minute. So the gremlins.
Oh, the device unexpectedly stopped. Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, aye. It's interesting to say. Now, we're getting a few other comments here, so I'll just read them out. Michelle, it's Michelle Can. What kind of readings do you do? Please do playing cards. Thank you for taking time out for your day, sending love and light, happiness, joy, and laughter, and good health to you all. Normally, we would be pulling cards at some of these chat shows, but tonight we've got a serious subject, and the whole idea of the chat show is to enlighten and to give people a say. And that's why we asked the question: Is this a controlling dimension? Both myself and John love doing our card readings, and normally we'd have a bit of fun, but tonight there's been a lot of good questions and a lot of good debate. We're going to carry on, but there will be times we just come on and maybe tea break with a psychic, or John does his own wee thing with me sometimes, and we just pull cards and have a bit of fun. But the idea I want to develop this chat show is to get people talking and waking up and having a bit of crack with one another and a bit of fun. So I'll explain that. So and we've got some more there, John. Sorry you're going through that. Yeah, social anxiety. So it's good that everyone's talking to one another there, John.
Yes, yes.
And Elaine. So it will generate what we've set out tonight to do is happening as people are talking and communicating and raising awareness to some of the issues about, are we living in a controlling dimension? And just out of interest, Sally's saying we're losing signal at times, but I think it's just the internet. Sometimes when we've got a controversial subject, things happen in our chat shows, John, don't they?
Yeah, I noticed that with my sound. I don't think I was saying anything too tinfoil hattish there, But
Oh,
maybe the app we're using's got a little bit of a censorship algorithm going on there. Who knows?
Well, we've got YouTube and Twitch on the go as well. We stream to them as well, and I haven't seen many comments from them right enough. But if you're watching on Twitch or watching later on or YouTube, feel free to get in touch with us if you want to have a wee chat or whatever. And we've both got good websites. I'll see if I can get some of our captions. And hang on, I'll get John. Let's see if we can get John's first. I want to get your blog. You used to have a really good blog, John.
Yeah, johnzorco.com has quite a few blog posts. I haven't added to it for a while, just I've been too busy doing other things. But I'm going to restart again soon and start putting blog posts on again. It will be on the same site, johnzorco.com. So most things will all be there. The only thing that is not there really now is my tile store, the online shop, but it does link from there anyway. So going to johnzorco.com effectively gets to everything I've got.
Yeah. I've got my wee blog. There's a lot of good subjects in my blog there as well. And also there's a website as well, happymedium.co.uk. And there's lots of links there. You can I thought I had my full website, but I don't know where it's went. It's like, and also Angela's got an amazing website. If you're into
Angela Holistics, yes,
yeah, Angela Holistics, my wife, and she's got a lovely website there. And if you're interested in holistic healing, and she's running a Reiki class. It's a angelic Reiki attunement in the 31st. Angela's amazing at teaching. When I would say I'm quite a good teacher, but Angela's just got a way. And her voice is really amazing. And there's 33 different, you could say, angels, dimensions, or whatever you want to call it. It's like that you get attuned to. Very powerful. It's not new agey. I think it's just bringing everything into one. And it really is an amazing workshop, you could say, amazing learnings. And it's over 3 days, a Friday night, and then Saturday and Sunday. And if you're interested in Reiki healing, it's certainly one I would recommend you come on. I'll be there helping her. But she's got such an amazing ability, and she's been doing Reiki a lot longer than I've ever been doing it, and she's just an expert in that field. And we've taught, it's great. See, when you teach people and they feel the energy and they sense it, John, this is a hint for you to come in one course. It's like, it's an amazing experience. And you've seen me do healing and stuff like that. It is amazing to channel that as well. It's can I totally understand it or explain it? Nope. It's like, but do I feel it, believe it, and believe in the energy? I certainly do. And I've seen the power of self-healing as well. And as you say, there's two people there having a bit of a kind of chat there, and it's good. And it is all about healing, and waking up to this is part of the self-awareness, and it's part of self-healing as well. Because we've all been guilty of saying the wrong thing, John.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can be quite good at it, actually. But you sometimes can't predict how you're going to come across when you say something. I just tend to be, I suppose, relatively forthright and honest in what I say. I'm not deliberately abrupt, but I tend to be, relatively forthright and honest. I don't tend to hide. I tend to give basically with a certain amount of transparency what it is I'm thinking. So you always know where I stand, and you always know what you get from me. And some people like that, and some people like it a little bit less. That's right. So I quite often seem to say the wrong thing, but I tend to feel that as long as I'm being genuine and honest, I'm doing the best I can. And I think that's all anyone can do, as long as you're being genuine and honest. Don't use honesty as an excuse to be mean, having said that, but as long as you're being genuine and honest and you're coming from the heart and you're trying to help someone, then, you shouldn't be saying the wrong thing, really, should you?
Yeah. And I think, we're flicking our banter now, John. It's like having a bit of fun there. But I think getting back to kind of what me and you do, and one of the things that we're becoming good at is raising people's awareness and help them through their challenging times, because we've been through it. You've been through different things to me, challenges, and I've been through challenges in my life where it's been a single parent, being blacklisted for my opinions and stuff in the past. And you've been at some of my union stuff years ago, helping count ballots and stuff, and I couldn't get a job. Remember all that?
Yeah.
And but also, one thing we do always remember to do, and that's have fun. Is no matter the situation, sometimes we just got to put it up to the angels or whatever you believe in, and be in the now and have a bit of fun. Do you not agree, John?
I absolutely do. Just have fun. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, right now is the best time to do that. When the shit hits the fan, to be fair, that's the time to start dancing.
Yeah.
Even if it's just to try and avoid the flying from hitting you, But that's the time. That's the time to start dancing. That's the time to put the music on, because you need something to balance the crap in the world. You need something to balance. If you don't, then you might just let yourself go a little bit too far down. So you need to start dancing. You need to put the music on. So this is really with everything that's going on in the world right now, this is the perfect time to do it. So when you come away from this show, go and put the music on and start dancing. Open a bottle of wine.
When I was at the Speaker Club last night, and I did a speech on what's the difference between meditation and mindfulness. And I've done it on here a few times, and I did. And it's funny because I'm not very good at reading from a script and doing a speech, because I'm more spontaneous public speaker, especially when I do my mediumship, because it's channeled. So I want to get better from my weddings and from my funeral type stuff to read from script, and also my hypnotherapy as well. So I read it from a script, but because I know the script so well and I know the subject so well, I think the reaction, because they're able to stay straight faced when they're assessing and giving you tips. And I give the one, like when you're really pushing hard to get a message, or you want to see something when you're meditating and you don't see that because you're not relaxing. I use the synergy of when you go to the toilet and you're all banged up and constipated. The one I always go on about. and you're
Yeah.
pushing and pushing, and nothing comes out until you take that breath, go watch the telly, play with your phone or whatever. You relax your abdominal muscles, and all of a sudden you're on the toilet. It's like, and it all comes out. So I used that as an example, and they were in stitches, but they couldn't laugh because they tried to keep a serious face. It says they've never tried so hard not to laugh at a speech in their lives. And I thought that was so funny, and because they're trying to be official, take notes and all that, but they were just laughing inside, and how hard that was for them to do, but also how good that was for them as well, Elaine saying, if you're being genuine, honest, John, you are saying the wrong thing, or the person you're talking to is the wrong way. Their issue, not yours, in my opinion. Totally true, Elaine. Yeah, totally.
Right, Elaine. Yes, thank you for that. I agree with that completely.
Yeah, and I'll send you a lot of healing, Elaine, as well, because I don't know, my hands are hot when I think of you just now. So maybe a bit, a bit of healing, a bit of laughter too, Elaine. Because I'm feeling that. Now, I want to pull a card for us all. I'm not going to pull cards for anyone tonight, but I want to pull a card on tonight's subject and just see what comes up, see what's sticking out. And it's the sun. Life is wonderful. Thrive through the power of positive thinking and inspiring success. Look at that, John.
Nice one.
A wonderful card for us all.
And the thing about the sun card is that it dilutes or eliminates negativity. So even if you have a tarot reading, for example, and you have a few cards spread out, if one is in the sun and there's a few bad cards in that spread, or cards that people think are bad cards, then the sun tends to neutralize a lot of that negativity. Yeah, so think of that card as kind of neutralizing all the negativity that might be going on around you at the moment, and do what was suggested earlier, put the music on and dance.
Yeah, and I've got young people looking up to us in a spiritual sense, so everybody's been looking up to us tonight, and we hope that hope everybody out there. And I know a lot of people come on and said, "Oh, you're a pull." Not one person said pull us a card tonight, so we must have had a good subject. I'll probably start saying it now that we've said it, but really thanks to everyone out there that's tuned in tonight on this important subject of, are we in a controlling dimension? And I think everyone can. I would say 90% of the people out there probably agree that we are in a controlling dimension. Do you think so, John?
Yeah, I mean, we live and exist in a controlled environment, whichever way you think of it. I mean, the whole structure of the world that we live in, and the society we live in, and the means of production and all the rest of it. Everything is controlled. There isn't any aspect of our life that isn't controlled. We're controlled from birth. You're born, and the first thing that happens is you're given a birth certificate with your name on it. Which is essentially a contract, which means you're owned by the government, according to another conspiracy theory. So so you are. I mean, this people. Something I remember hearing ever since I was a child. Almost, we're nothing but a number. And in essence, that's really what that means, isn't it? The idea, that we live in a controlled dimension, that we are all just a number in the scheme of things, and that's. But that doesn't mean that you don't still have free will within that area. So, for example, my cat is a lovely little beautiful black witchy cat called Jinx. She's pure black, right? But she's a house cat. She can't go out because she's older and she's got a problem with her hind legs, so she can't go out. All right, so she has to be inside, and she's been a house cat all her life. And within this house, she can roam wherever she likes. She can't go outside because she's not safe. But within this house, she can go where she likes. She can jump on the furniture. She can drag down the curtains if she wants to. She can plow on the Christmas tree and drag it down when it's Christmas. She can scratch on the scratching post. She can jump in my lap whenever she likes. She can go into any room and do anything she wants. So she has complete freedom to use her free will within the scope of the environment that she's in. And that's a pretty good metaphor for our situation, all of our situation in this world. We do have free will, genuinely, spiritually. We do have free will, and we have it within, but we have the ability to use it within the scope of the environment we're in. And it's up to us to make most use of it.
Yeah, and I think it's coming back to what I always say to people is we live in the now, not the past, not the future we're living in now, and it's what we do now. And just now, if we're at home and we're watching us two, and we're just taking that breath and we're smiling, and you smile to yourself in the now, and we can just let go. And that's when all the good ideas and thoughts come in, because we just observe. We just
Yeah.
observe the feelings we've got. Because sometimes the feelings we get are messages. And, and we've got to learn to listen to that. And it's great that we're talking about some memories here. And then Ruth and Georgina and Sally plays at work. She's been having lots of fun. The sun card, Georgina says, also symbolises the beginning of or birth of new idea or lifestyle. Yeah, totally true. It's a lovely card, the sun card. And it's funny how it's the card that's come out twice tonight. And I'd like to again thank everyone for tuning in tonight. We're getting near the end, John.
Yeah, okay,
I don't know if you've got a card you want to pull or something for us all. Have you any cards?
Well, I could, couldn't I? Wait a minute. Will I still be heard? If I put this slightly further away. I'm not going to get cut out again. I'll try not to say anything.
It's a conspiracy.
I'll try not to say anything controversial, and maybe the gremlins won't interfere with my sound equipment again. That's just after me boasting to you, Derek, earlier on before we went live about my fancy microphone and everything.
Yeah, definitely. Right. It looks
anyway,
good.
Okay, so randomly, I'm not even bothering to think about this. I've got no idea what's going to come out here. I'm just going to randomly see what card comes out. So I'm using the Archangel Power Tarot cards by Radley Valentine. And this is actually one of the original decks that was produced by Radley Valentine and Doreen Virtue. You see the gold edges.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll just cut that. Oh no, wait a minute.
One's falling out, no?
No, that doesn't happen with me. All that much. Okay, here we go. I have got Epiphany. Interesting. Epiphany with Archangel Raziel. We'll show you that just now, first of all. Yeah. Nice card. So I'll read out a little bit at the bottom and we'll see how we feel about that. So we've got joy through spiritual growth. Be a light to others. Answers that come through meditation. And what have we been talking about tonight when I was speaking earlier on about what my concept anyway was about spiritual awakening and how people have been awakening over the last few years, and of course Derek drew that sun card as well. So this is kind of confirming the message in the sun card as well, joy through spiritual growth. Yeah. So I just feel like saying this card is suggesting, perhaps embarking, if you're not already doing it, on some kind of little basic spiritual practice. Try a little meditation in the mornings, for example, or last thing at night before you go to bed. Practice a little mindfulness. I practice mindfulness in the morning by playing with my cat, for example. There's different ways that you can do things like that. Answers that come through meditation. So whatever, I've noticed in the context of different chats tonight that we've had and in the comments as well, that some of you guys have got stuff that's going on in your life. Perhaps answers that you haven't thought of might come to you during periods of meditation, or even perhaps through dreams, I feel like saying, so you might wake up if you actually unusually, if you don't normally remember a dream and you actually weirdly remember a dream, then you might look up what that dream means. You might think about what message might be there for you, because answers might be coming to you in different ways right now, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through dreams, or whether it's just through other practices you have that encourage your spiritual growth.
Yeah, amazing. Well, that can go hand in hand with the sun card. Epiphany, having a sudden realise that something needs change. I've just jumped there. Or the change is coming towards you, whether you're ready or not. So make necessary change and go with the flow. Keep an open mind and don't swim against the tide. These changes need to happen to help everyone move to a higher space of awareness. Thank you, Georgina. That's just a good one to kind of close it on, actually. It just sums up a little bit. And, I hope people enjoyed this kind of bit of a serious subject tonight, but also having a bit of fun too with it. And it's good to have that conversation and look forward. I don't know how you're fixed next Thursday, John. I've got a few.
I don't know yet either, but we'll keep in touch.
But no doubt we'll come on and we'll have a maybe a tea break with two psychics or something where we're pulling cards and having a bit of fun. We will be keeping up these chat shows with some good subjects and some other good guests and maybe 2 or 3 guests on at the same time. So keep looking out for them. I'm trying to make them every Thursday. I had some technical issues with the broadband, which I couldn't do anything about. But I'm getting really faster fibre broadband in soon. So that'll be amazing. And hopefully we can carry on the shows every Thursday night.
Yes.
So take care, everyone. Bye from me.
Bye from me. I almost said bye from him.
Thank you, Sally, and thanks everybody for listening.
Yes. Thank you very much.
All the best, guys. Speak later.